Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So here I want to cover Mount Insignia Bonuses and which one you should be using for the damage dealer, healer and a tank. What are the best ones, and if you can't get the best ones, what are the next best alternatives? In this video we will be covering all of the Insignia Bonuses that you can see listed in your stable here, which ones are useful to you, and again which ones you should be using on your roll. Before we get started, make sure to go to your homepage, Claims Valuables, Promo, and pick up the 50 free mount tokens. It does say in the description of the pack that you'd get 75, but that's a tooltip error. You'll claim it, as long as your inventory is not full, and get your 50 free mount tokens just down here. They immediately go in your inventory, so you can go to your bank and you can transfer them to that and then to any character you want them on. Be aware of that, and you only have until tomorrow to claim them. So let's begin with a damage dealer. What insignia bonuses do you want there? Well, the way the system works is you have different mounts and you'll slot them into your stable here, and each mount has its own unique setup of slots, like this one having a regal, barbed, universal and universal. So you can click Insignia Bonus List and you can see exactly which ones you can use with that mount. Then you can also look for all the other mounts that you have, and then also any stable mount. So this will basically show you the list of any insignia bonus in the game. That's where you find them all, and you can see which ones and where they are at and what insignias they require to get that bonus. You need to have this combination and then you get the benefit. You can filter it a little bit based on what insignia type you want to use here, and ultimately that's a tool you can use to find out what mount has what insignia bonus, because you might go to your auction house here and just look up some mounts, and then you can right click the mounts and you can see in their stats what insignia combination they can fit. So this is a crescent and 2 universals, so then we know it has to have a crescent and then it'll fit any of these insignia bonuses that are not of the 4 slots, because this mount in particular has only 3 slots, so you'll have to scroll down to the 3 slot mount insignia bonuses, and you know that mount then can have it. Gets a little bit more confusing with the 4 slot mounts, and thus I recommend going to the link in my video description. That should lead you to my 4 slot mount document. You can read through it there and you can find all of the mounts that are currently in the game that have 4 slots, exactly what bonuses they have and what insignias they will require. So a damage dealer, we go straight to this list. This is all of the insignia bonuses in the entire game. You can see we have them ranked there from 1 to 6. Any of them that has the same rank, have their uses and they're pretty good. And that's how I would rank them and prioritize them on what you want to get for your character. You can read the benefit there as well. You can also see how many insignia slots it requires to gain the bonus, and also the stacks, whether you can gain the benefit 3 times or not. The way it works with stacking is that the first one will give you, yes, the full benefit, but the next one will give half the benefit of the previous one, and it can stack like that 3 times. So tacticians, the first one gives us 5 seconds, the next one adds 2.5 seconds to that, and the following one from that would add a 1.25 seconds to that. So you could get an 8.75 second cooldown reduction with having 3 tacticians, or if you had 3 gladiators guile, you could gain a total of 18.5% movement speed. 10, 5, 2.5. One that's important that does not stack is Enchanter's Hex. And also Enchanter's Hex is a bit of a debate here. It will depend on what your class is. For example, a rogue could go and make use of Smoke Bomb and Enchanter's Hex, and that can be feasible right now on the Whisper Knife, but that may very well change. And also Enchanter's Hex can be very good on a wizard with the Ray of Frost, but some other classes like your Cleric, DPS, Ranger, etc., who don't have the crowd control abilities to use in a single target fight against a control immune enemy to trigger that, and even some powers which you think are control immune won't work. You'll have to do your research on whether that's actually useful for your class or not, but in general it can be very useful for damage. Executioner's Covenant, just giving you the offensive stats here. You will sacrifice some defensive stats, just be aware of that. Tacticians Again, giving you the cooldown reduction. It's really important for like an artifact call these days on particular classes especially. Warlord's Motivation, pretty big boost to your companion's damage. Assassin's Covenant, which is basically a reduced version of Executioner's Covenant. Thus, it's only on like rank 2 there. Same with Menders. It will also give offensive stats, but not as many, giving only crit strike, crit severity, and power. And then there's Warlord's Inspiration, which is just a lesser version of Warlord's Motivation. Just be aware that they don't stack with each other. Motivation will override Inspiration, and Inspiration won't stack with Motivation. But then there's a whole bunch of other useful ones, more utility, then some survival benefit ones, and that's about it. There are some unique ones like gaining some rough astral diamonds or refining points. I personally have actually not tested how impactful these are. I don't know whether they stack having multiple of them. Maybe I'll check those out at another time, but I am assuming they're going to be pretty poor. Otherwise, people would have been talking about them. But keep your eye out just in case they are any good and I test them and make a dedicated video to them. But that's damage dealers. For example, on a rogue right now, on the Whisper Knife, I would use this setup here, like a Warlord's, Enchanter's Hex, 2 Tacticians, and an Executioner's for stats. If I didn't need the stats, then I would switch to another Warlord's Motivation, or if I had another Tactician's, or if we want some movement speed, a Gladiator's Guile. But let's move on to a healer. What bonuses should you be using there? Well, this would be like my Paladin healer, and I would use something like this. And again, this would be my table and ranking for those bonuses on your healer. Coming up in the first spot is like Mender's Covenant. If you need those stats, they'll help you. Crit strike, crit severity, outgoing healing, and power. All very useful. If you don't need the stats, there are definitely other options. Shepherd's Devotion, very good. When you use it daily, that's usually when you want to give people some protection. Your teammates will also gain some extra defense. Or you can even use that daily power to just provide everybody movement speed. Again, you can stack this up 3 times, giving everybody 18.5% movement speed. It's really nice. Artificer's Persuasion coming in second place with all of these other ones, just because this will give some cooldown reduction. It'll help. It's not as good as Tacticians, but it'll still be somewhat useful there. Gladiator's Guile, also movement speed. These things aren't going to help your healing, but they're going to help you a little bit with like your abilities, get them off cooldown, which I guess will indirectly help your healing and capabilities. Magistrate's Patience, useful for giving people some defense. Not something you want to rely on, especially in a trial, but can help a little bit. And even you having this will work because you can critically heal yourself, which will result in them gaining the benefit. Protector's Camaraderie, also giving you some stats whenever your companion attacks, and Survivalist Expertise giving you some forte. The reason I would actually suggest Survivalist Expertise on a healer is because that forte will help you with regeneration of your divinity or your heal resource, whatever healer class you are. And on top of that, when you do die, your revive sickness will not impact your heals. It only affects damage and hit points. So it will affect your survivability with your maximum hit points, but it won't affect your actually healing. So you can get away with using it. I wouldn't put it in the number 1 spot, but it's very good. Just be careful with it. And then we go on to alternatives you can use for some extra healing stats. And then you go on to some extra defensive abilities here with the healing insignia bonuses, heal when you take a big hit, etc. But from there we go to our tank. What should we be using here? Again, we have another whole list, and this is how I would rank them. The number 1 spot there would be Gladiator's Guile, Protector's Covenant, and Shepherd's Devotion, giving you all those benefits. Gladiator's Guile, really nice with the movement speed, but it's also giving stamina regen when you're low on that. Protector's Covenant for the defensive stats, helps with your builds, but again, if you don't need that, you can always use other options. Shepherd's Devotion, again, for that survivability to your teammates. Also, the movement speed helps you out. And then, unlike the rank 2, you have Lionheart's Preservance, that clutch heal when you drop below a certain amount of hit points, 30%. Magistrate's Patience, giving everybody defense whenever you're hit, which is a lot of the time. It just doesn't have 100% uptime because it's 5 seconds duration, 10-second cooldown. So Again, not that reliable, but then Tactician's Precision for the cooldown reduction. You can also throw in Artificer's Persuasion there as well. And then you do have the bunch of heal insignia bonuses you can use, certain builds. If you're running with a healer who's not that great, or just without a healer altogether, I definitely recommend these to give yourself a bunch of healing over time without actually having a healer to heal you. You can survive a lot of content with just those, and overall you can mess around. And then we go down here to some other somewhat useful options, and then you just end up with offensive ones, which are not going to help you really at all. Ultimately, that's about it. Again, you can use those lists and my rankings on those. You can see what the insignia bonuses are and what they can do. Again, recommend just if you need to find a mount that actually has that bonus, just go here in your stable, check your insignia bonus list. You can view any stable mount and you can view all of them there. You can see exactly what combination that insignia bonus requires. You can filter some of them here as well. And then while you're looking in game, you can right click that mount and you can figure out what exact bonuses it can have. Or you can just check already the mounts that you do have and which bonuses they would give you just here. So hopefully this was somewhat insightful, you guys. A special thank you to all of these channel members for their added support. I'm gonna see you guys around. Goodbye for now.